One of the benefits of working with TrustStar is that we understand that each customer is different. And because of that, we give you different options or different tools inside our platform that you can select based on your scenario, based on your journey, right? Now, Christian talked about the record exchange, that is our library, right? With all the most popular vendors out there. But again, you can also use AR record creation. AR record creation is perfect for those customers that works in a very specific industries that are using very specific software of vendors, or also for any other organization who really wants to use the power of the AI. You can, of course, import a CSV document, literally with just the name of the vendor and the system, or you can type the name of the vendor or the system. That is pretty much what I'm going to do on the demo, right? So I'm going to add, I don't know, HashiCorp as my third party. Let's add a system related to this vendor. So again, in this example, I'm just selecting 2 records. And then I'm going to click AI search records. And basically what we're doing right now is that we're using AI to look for information related to these records, right? In this example, to the vendor and to the system. Once we identify those, as you can see, we're going to show you, just let's wait a little bit for the system, right? And of course, before you add this into your inventory, you will have the opportunity to review them, right? In this example, this is HashiCorp, the description, right? All this information, which I think is great. And then again, if I go to the system, again, we get the information. Now, there are 3 things that I really want to talk about this particular image that you're seeing here. First of all, the tool is going to build a correlation between who is the owner of the system, right? So you can see that right away, we identify that HashiCorp owns the system. So we are creating owned by. Other thing that I found super important for our customers is that in the case that the system is using AI, we are going to let you know. And this is great because now, thanks to this, you are going to be able to build your data inventory around AI and the risk associated to it, which I think is fantastic. And not only is fantastic, but it's also a requirement right now in countries, in principle in GDPR. And of course, we can tell you the hosting locations. Also, it's important to point that you can change or remove some of these hosting locations depending on your organization. So if you're not doing any business, let's say in India, well, you can remove it or you can add it later. And of course, something that I want to mention is that we're always going to be super transparent with our users in the way that you use AI. So we already talked about that in Imiti AI, everything is a closed language model and so on. And in our search record creation, we're going to show you the sources that were used in order to found the data and populate everything that I'm showing to you guys, okay? I'm going to close this. I'm going to click Create to Records. And as simple as that, we added 2 records into our inventory. If I scroll down, you can see that HashiCorp is already here. And of course, if I click on this drop-down menu, you can see how easy we are building the correlation between who is your vendor, your system, and of course, this is a brand new system, but in case that you're already working with it, you can see like how many assessments you have in place. You can also be able to understanding how many internal business process and so on. Now, talking about business process, as Kristen mentioned, we also added AR record creation for business process, but it looks a little different. So let me show you. For that, I'm going to go to my business process section, right? And then I'm going to click Add New. Of course, again, remember, with our tool, you have multiple ways to build your business process, right? You can send business process formulas, you can do this manually, but today I'm going to show you how can you use AI. I'm going to click on New Business Process. I'm going to select one of my templates, right? I'm going to click Continue. And as you can see here, we're going to show you the AR Power Record Creation. So let's click on Get Started. Now, pretty much now, what I need to do is to put a prompt about the type of business process that I want to create, that I want to build. So I don't know, let's do something like build. Again, as you can see, this is a very simple prompt because it's the only thing that I can imagine right now. But literally, you can even mention in the description what systems, specific data elements, specific subjects. So you can really be very explicit with this. But again, this is the first thing that came to my mind. So I'm going to click Next, right? And basically what we're doing right now is that based on the prompt, we're going to show you systems that is important to mention are already part of your inventory, right? That we know that may be used for payroll, right? So in this example, ADBP and Paybe. Not only that, but also we're going to add the most common data elements that are part of a payroll in this example. So then again, this take a couple of seconds. So I'm going to show you the most common data elements, right? As you can see here. Of course, you can remove some of them if they not make any sense. So I'm going to add also suggestions of the most common processing purposes, right? As you can see here. Then the same apply for data subjects. And of course, at the end, the data recipients, right? So again, just imagine the time and effort that you're saving, not only from you, but for also the business owners, right? By using this particular feature in our platform. I'm gonna click generate now. And as you can see here on the right, we are generating the preview, right? So then again, this is gonna take a couple of seconds, right? And then as you can see, we're gonna start to show you what is going to be part of the business process, right? And once this is complete, I'm gonna click autofill the record. And as simple as that, all that information from the name, the description, the systems, and more were added into my tool. Of course, there are always going to be some pieces that are missing. For example, here, the amount of people that are involved. I'm just going to select this one. But if I click on next, I just really want to show you that already the systems are in here. You can, of course, review the data subject, recipients, elements, and more. Also based on the inputs and outputs, the tool is going to build for you a data flow, which I think is super powerful, as you can see here, right? I think my screen is not that big, but you can see here. And of course, in case that you're transferring data between different jurisdictions, we're also going to show you this map view. And then at the end of the day, the reason we are always, or we need to have an inventory and build business process is to understand the risk. I want to finish this demonstration by jumping to the risk and assessments, right? And then one thing that is very powerful about our solution is that, again, as I say, we're helping customers not only using AI for building and implementing their privacy programs, but also inside the tool, as you can see here, we're going to help you guys to identify what is the risk associated to AI. So you can see here that we can review what is my risk scoring around AI. And then the tool is gonna show you the different risk factors, right? So these are the factors that were founded, right? You can select the risk, right? The suggestion, right? I'm gonna save changes. And then I'm gonna close this. And just to finish with this demonstration, right? I just wanna mention that once you identify your risk, right? Our tool that is called Assessment Manager appears in here. And if you want to start doing the mitigation of the risk, you can see that we're going to give you recommendations of an assessment that is connected to the risk or based on the risk that was found, right? And then you can start doing the mitigation, right? Important to mention that all these assessments, all these AI features that you're seeing right here in this demonstration are part of our suite, right? You don't have to pay extra for using them. So they're already included.